Imagine what your exposure is to media in third grade. A lot of cartoons. There was debates about whether Sonic or Mario was the superior cartoon character for representing our desired brands. You know, Jenga, the card game of War, which is basically a game in which, like, by the way, for you who don't know War, here's the card game War. You get a traditional 52 card set, and you go 1, 2, 3, and you both play a card, and whoever's is larger, won. And then you take those 2 cards, then you just like play another card. Whoever's is bigger, won. And that's it. That's the entire game. Right? This is my exposure to games at this point in media in my in life. And then some kid had brought his Magic cards to school, and I was like looking at this, and I mean, let's be honest, no third grader understood the stack or resolution. Just order of operations, like how one could do a turn at all. Like, not all that gone. Like, totally not present. But there's just all these numbers and abilities and, like, cool cards. And, dude, I remember, like, being, like, in third grade, seeing this and being like, holy shit. It felt like I had discovered an alien language and there was, like, a new plane of existence. And so, you know, I was like, Mom, I'm young and I have a need. Spend your fucking money on me. Ah! Like, freaking out. Like, I don't even know how to I don't have any urges that are as strong as every urge I had when I was under the age of 15. I need it. And my mom, who was, of course, very supportive of all the, hobbies and interests of me and my brother, she got me and my bro one of these like starter kits that came with like the beads that you'd see normally at like the bottom of like a fish tank, but you know, they were the counters. I mean, now people literally have like dice and more intelligent things, but literally just like beads. And you know, so it'd be like 4 blue beads. Each blue bead represented 5 health, and the clear beads were 1 health. It had a whole bunch of cards and some pre-constructed decks and so on and so forth. I was like, oh my god, my brother and I, we're going to learn the rules. We're going to learn the rules to this game. We're going to play against each other. And I didn't understand the difference between mechanics texts and rules texts versus flavor text. And I remember there's a mummy card. It's the first card I ever read in Magic the Gathering. Holy shit. Well, let me look up. MTG Mummy Eats Eyes. Cyclopean Mummy. If a mummy is placed into the graveyard from play, remove it from the game. And then here's the flavor text. The ritual of plucking out an eye to gain future sight is but a curse that enables the living to see their own deaths. And I'm like trying to parse this in 4th grade. I was like, fuck man, listen, let's just remove it from the game, from the graveyard. And once we get to, like, eyes in the future, we'll figure those rules out then. Okay, Sean, that seems good. And so my brother and I, like, we're just trying to, like, assemble decks, and, like, our decks just didn't make sense, right, by traditional rules. Like, 147 card decks, right? It was literally the pile of cards I thought were cool, and then not the cards that I thought were cool. And that was the division between in the deck and not in the deck. And, you know, we used to have, like, sleepovers, and we lived in a small apartment, so my mom was like, you guys have to be quiet. So it'd be, like, 4 of us playing Magic the Gathering, you know, like, I'm gonna attack Jeff. And Jeff's like, well, you always attack me. And I was like, shh, Mom's asleep. Shut up. There's a thing that I think all immature young people do, which is if you're into a game, you look at any game that has any similarity and you just try to be like, mine's better. And like, this is so arbitrary. Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, yeah, I just like a lot of games. But as a kid, no. As a kid in 6th grade, oh my gosh, you know, because I'd continued to get Magic cards. No, I must have been in 7th grade then. It was like 7th, 8th grade. Still just, you know, collecting Magic cards. You know, every Friday, we would either go to the Blockbuster and rent a video game, or we'd go to the card shop and I'd get 1 pack of Magic cards, right? Like that's kind of what we did. So I'd slowly accumulated, and I had a 90 card deck. It was pretty sick. It was 45 creatures and spells, and then 45 land. Pretty good. So again, this kid has this awkward deck, and there was a nearby comic shop where a whole bunch of people were really into Pokemon. Right, they're really into the Pokemon card game. And there was a night where there was like a Magic the Gathering tournament, and I was like, I'm really cool. I'm going to go to a Magic the Gathering tournament. I've been telling Mom about it all week. I was going to bike to the comic shop on Thursday and play. I get there, and I get paired against someone who was like 35 or something. I mean, this is like an adult, and I'm like a 7th and 8th grader or something like that. Look, 7th and 8th graders, they just don't process information very quickly, because in Magic the Gathering, the benefit of having all the rules on the cards is that you don't really need to know that many cards to play a game, right? You just play the card, and you go, oh, what's that? And you pick it up and read it. But like, I'm picking it up and I'm trying to like read through this stuff and trying to like really understand. I'm like taking a long time, and there's no clocks, there's no client keeping track of how long my turns are taking. I'm just like taking a long time because I'm trying to go into the zone here, right? This guy is just like, yeah, Magic's cool. I'm just gonna play in a Thursday night tournament. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But for me, this is like the anime battle of the century, where like everything is starting to turn black, and it's just the silhouette of me and the cards on the table glowing with letters. I'm like so into this shit. And what kept happening like all game long is I kept forgetting to proc various effects. At end of turn do thing. And on his turn, I kept going, oh, wait, I realized that this thing should not be tapped. I attacked with a flyer with vigilance, and I would like tap it. And then he'd attack, and I'd be like, wait, this has vigilance, so it shouldn't have been tapped. So now I can block. And let me tell you, what does he do in this situation? There's like a 12-year-old being like, no, it shouldn't be tapped. And he's in his 30s. He knows that it shouldn't have been tapped. But he was like, dude, come on. You gotta stop doing this, man. You have to stop. And I was like, no, that's fine. But of course, like at that age, I just needed to win. I needed it. It was like my identity. I had to succeed. And then so we played this like 35-minute long game that should have been like not a lot of minutes. It should have been a quick little game. But I won this game. I won the game against this guy. At that time, like 12-year-old Sean, he disappeared, and it was just me and glorious victory throwing my fists in the air. Yes! Yeah! It's the first time I've ever played against a stranger in Magic. Yeah! I was like so amped. And now that I am looking back at that memory as an adult, I'm capable of recalling a lot more. Like, my brain stored the information, it didn't process it at age 12, but now that it's 31 and is processing the information that 12-year-old brain stored, I'm just like looking at this guy who's like so frustrated. And I'm looking at his friends like trying not to laugh at him. And I'm looking at the pain that I've caused this person by bending the order of rules deep into turns later. Like, oh yeah, 2 turns ago, remember when that attacked? Well, I should have returned this from the graveyard to my hand, so I actually don't have no cards in hand. I have this spell and I destroy that thing. It's like really shitty. And he just, you know what? I gotta extend my thanks back to that man who just he just let it happen. He just was like, yeah, no, I guess it should have proc 2 turns ago. I guess that's what should have happened. And I'm just like, yeah! Eat crud! I wasn't even capable of cursing at that point in time. Like, I knew the words, but I didn't have, like, the neural connections weren't there. It had been prevented by the upbringing of my mother. Like, just those words exist, but if you ever go close to them, you go to hell. And I was like, oh, okay, we're not going to go to hell. We're going to say crud because we're edgy. So I ruined a man. And then I went to school with him. I could describe him only as a bro, right? He was one of those guys who, like, even in 7th grade, he sort of wore like a pastel-colored polo with the collar popped, right? Because he kind of tried to be like cool and in, but this kid was like mega nerd. He's a good dude. Now he's a good dude. He was a confused dude, because let's be honest, when you're in any school, nothing you do has real-world value. I wrote an essay about Benjamin Franklin. Nothing happens. The stock market didn't go up or down. You didn't make anyone's day better. It was work for you. It's work for the teacher. You're just exhausted. All you get out of it is a letter, like a B. And then you have to deal with some emotions about this thing that doesn't matter. It's like, I know I'm capable of getting an A on an essay about Benjamin Franklin, like all that shit, right? You try to cope through these things. I don't remember a single assignment I turned in then, but like that's who you are in school. And oh God, I gotta get A's on things and stuff because I need to. And then there's people who are popular for no reason, but I know that they're popular. I can tell because there's, I don't know, pheromones or some shit. They buy Abercrombie and Fitch, and they're mean to people. They're popular, right? And then so you had someone like my unnamed doxless, I wouldn't call him a friend because he was kind of a douche to me at some point, but he was sort of confused. So he wanted to be like one of the cool popular guys who wears Abercrombie and Fitch stuff, but then the weekend would come off and he'd pull off his mask and he'd be like, oh yes, I'm back in my normal skin, I'm a fucking nerd. And he would like, go to PC cafes in good old Leawood, Kansas. He'd be playing games there like all day, all weekend, and he had like this crazy Magic collection. So after I won that first round, I played against him, and he played some like mono black aggro deck that had a whole bunch of Phyrexian whatever the hells, where you have to like pay life in order to cast a creature that's way overcosted. And I'm sitting there with my 7 mana Serra avatars, and it actually felt unfair. It felt unfair because he's got his popped Abercrombie and Fitch thing with some branding to let me know when Abercrombie and Fitch was ested. And he's got a little wristband that just doesn't do anything. I think it's just a rubber band that he drew on. He's got that on, and he's killing me in like 4 turns. But I'm trying so hard to figure out, and I just have like 6 and 7 mana cost cards and land, and that's all I have. And it's just this pain sinking, just pouring down into the pit of my stomach of how unfair the world is. They shouldn't make those cards. And then, like, I don't know if that ever happened to you, but, like, when I was a kid, like, nowadays, you watch me stream, I lose all the time on a huge variety of games. I lose, and I'm like, it sucks. No big deal. But when I was a kid, big deal. Big deal. Remember, I don't do anything that matters. I care about my essay about presidential physical fitness when I'm in 5th grade, right? Like, so you think I've evolved a lot in 7th grade? You think I've really gone over the maturity hump? No, this is the most important thing that's ever happened in my life. This game against a bunch of Phyrexian jerks. Phyrexian Negator. Yep, there it is. Phyrexian Negator. Phyrexian Negator is 1 black and 2 colorless trample. Whenever Phyrexian Negator is dealt damage, sacrifice a permanent for each 1 damage dealt to it. What a jerk.